Welcome back to The Swinging Light, where we venture deep underground to explore total darkness and unimaginable horror. Continuing on with our top 50 horror movie scratch-off cards, the next card was The Descent. This movie was released in 2005 and is rated R. It is directed by Neil Marshall and stars Natalie Mendoza, Shauna McDonald, and Alex Raid.
A group of friends go spelunking, and what starts as an adventurous reunion turns into a nightmare. And this movie is filled with tight spaces, zero visibility, and something lurking in the darkness that definitely isn't human.
I was really excited to scratch off The Descent on our cards because it had been a very long time since I've seen this movie, probably about 20 years. And I remember that I liked it before.
And I have never heard of this movie. So this was actually my first time even exploring it. And I know you talked about it. Like, you were excited when you scratched this one off.
Right.
Yeah. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the good. What do we feel like this movie did right? And the acting was great. I felt like the acting was pretty good on this.
Yes, absolutely. You could definitely tell that the girls were in absolute horror through most of it. And there was a lot of emotion. They made me feel like I was really there. And so I agree the acting was very good. And you could also, the tension was palpable when they have scenes where they're crawling across the ceiling and, putting in these little hooks that expand. And it's just like, oh my goodness. And there's just total darkness underneath them. And you're wondering if they're going to be able to, make it across or not. And that's actually where they find an older hook in the ceiling. So, and the leading to, the tight spaces.
Yeah, right. The claustrophobia in this movie is there. Like, we've been in caves together.
Yes.
And we experienced total darkness. And so it's like, we know, like, I shoulder checked a rock.
And it didn't move.
Yeah, it didn't move. And you did the same thing.
I elbow checked a rock trying to go up. So actually being in a few caves together just recently elevated my, horror for the film, because I realized, and
how dark it is.
Like, how dark and how unforgiving the spaces can be.
Right. The other thing I think they did right with the crawlers. They looked really good. They reminded me of rakes. So I pay attention more to cryptics, and immediately I was like, that looks like a rake to me. And you haven't heard of a rake. So I had to show Rachel what a rake was, and it's pretty much spot on.
Yes. The picture that you brought up, I had actually seen on TV before. Does it look a little photoshopped? Yeah, but it's pretty horrific. And it is definitely resembling the crawlers down there. So they're really freaky, and the way they move and the way they vocalize and look. And so, it's real fun in the dark because they don't have any color. They're basically almost translucent, white goblin-like creatures. So
the look of the crawlers, that I thought was really well done. Like, seeing them was great. I mean, just another thing, just how they killed.
Yes.
The death scenes, the gore and all that, I thought was really, really well done.
And that's probably why I remember it, being fond of it, because I am into gore and horror and slashers. So, as you all will find out as we move along, and the kills in this movie were graphic, very graphic. And there's one part where he's literally ripping this poor woman's stomach apart and eating her guts while she's screaming in a tight space. It's just...
she's trying to escape and being dragged through faster, and he's, eating on her stomach.
Yeah, it's just... and ripping out the throats. In fact, this was the best kill, one of the best kills in the whole movie. That was probably the grossest, the stomach one. But the doctor friend was actually doing, don't know what you call it, but going into the ceiling, trying to get across another, like depth area. And she comes across one and it just rips her throat out. And she, basically has enough time to react to kill it. And then and that scene and blood's just dripping like rainfall out of her neck. It was amazing. So the kills are really, really good here.
So the whole setup of that, the visuals, everything was great. That was really well done.
Yes. And another great thing about this movie are the jump scares. I did jump, I always sit pretty close to my husband, of course, when we watch movies. And there was several times where, I just like the jump scares. It obviously had been a long time since I seen the movie, so I wasn't expecting them. And the end has a really great one where Sarah actually manages to escape. The whole movie is it is like a psychological mindfuck. Seriously, it is horrific and gory, and it's not too long, so it's not too much.
So that's what we liked about the movie. So let's talk about what we didn't like.
Yes.
So I think I nitpick a little bit more on movies and how they set them up. I'm more of not the overall, but like certain scenes, I nitpick a lot and I'm really critical of things. And one of the scenes that really bothered me was the party scene. Like they're drinking and these 6 girls are probably 100 pounds.
Yes.
And they have and they're pretty coherent still, but there's just bottles of beer all over the place. And it's not like they're in their teens anymore, or I want to say teens, but they're not young adults.
Yeah.
Like they have families or older.
Yeah. One's going to medical school to become a doctor,
Right.
And
to be able to even to drink that and hold that amount of alcohol and still function the way they did.
Yes.
And to conversate, it was not even realistic to me.
Yeah.
And then get up and run the next day, and right before you go,
go on this huge adventure down in a cave.
Like, yeah.
Spelunking and holding on for your life and everything. So this was he's referring to the log cabin where they get together again.
The reunion.
And the reunion part, they finally come together and they party and, take a picture, and you kind of get to know more about each character at that point. And there's just bottles of beer, like 99 bottles of beer everywhere. And it's like, he's like, there's no way those girls are like, not completely passed out, trashed right now. So,
right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that really bothered me was their driving.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they were like, for this scene, like, can you drive bad? And it's like, oh, of course, I'm a woman. Oh.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, and not saying that women are bad drivers. It was just their driving in this movie is just horrible. I mean, I don't know if it's setting up because they're hungover, but they are flying through the woods, getting air on every little bump possible.
Up this mountain to this like cave area.
And they're just like, no care in the world. And it's just like,
they're like hill hopping. It's like the car's got air.
And it's just, to me, it's just, if I was in that car, I'd be like, can you slow the fuck down? Because they are just flying through and they're just like bumping. It's just.
And one of the girls that looks the most hungover, she must have got the most trashed off all that, the 3 cases of beer they drank, was driving.
Yeah.
I was like, why is she driving? She looks like she needs to be like taking a nap in the back of the car.
And it's just like right before you go cave exploring, you're going to drive like that. Like it was too much
reckless.
For me. Yes, very. And it's not, and I just don't think it was really called for.
Necessary. It was not necessary.
Like, unless you're trying to say women are bad drivers, this is how they drive. You nailed it.
Yeah.
So I think it was ridiculous. And if I'm in that car or even following the other one, I would be making comments the whole time, like slow down.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just that bad.
Yeah, that really bothered you.
I mean, comments the whole time, like seriously, like how are you not somebody upset? One person should be upset that you're driving through the woods hung over, so I'm gonna have a headache.
Yeah.
If I drank that much, so I'm gonna be really irritated. Even more like, oh my head, oh. You know? Like it's just
getting air in the car, hill hopping up the mountain. Yeah, for sure.
It just I didn't like it. The other thing I didn't like with the crawlers and their defense.
I agree with this 100%.
So like they couldn't see.
Because they live in a cave and they're blind. And
they're like, the girls are swinging at them and they're dodging them. They're like,
they're like, ooh,
move. Yeah.
Whoa. And it's like, how? You can't see that. Like, do you hear the.
But they can't hear breathing when they're standing on people's faces. They're up nose to nose with people and they can't hear breathing or feel breathing.
Yeah.
And they sound like the predator. As they click, which I get the clicking sound because that's normal, but it's just like, how do you, so what is it? You can't see, but you can't feel. Your smell's not there because you're nose to nose with someone. You can't smell something.
Yeah. So how are you a good hunter at all?
So that just made no sense to me.
Where'd the boneyard come from? Or you know what I mean?
And supposedly they leave to go hunt and bring it back.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just did not like how it didn't make sense.
No.
Like I can get being blind and then say your other senses are heightened, but then they're not really heightened because you're nose to nose with somebody and you don't hear it, you don't feel it, you don't smell it.
Right.
Like, so what else do you got?
Because there are parts of the movie where they are very close to these crawlers and it seems like they have no idea they're there.
And you are breathing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And they're
even
using
stepping on the heads. And how do you not know you're stepping on a live person?
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool effect. It looks scary and freaky, but you know, they can dodge like Mortal Kombat, but they can't sense anything around them. So that was a little bit disappointing.
They can't see, but they can dodge.
Yeah. I mean, along with the fight scenes themselves were very fast. It was very hard when it was basically the girls against the crawlers as, you know, one-on-one. The camera was moving around so fast and erratically, and it's not that it looked bad, and it was scary, but it was moving so fast that
you couldn't follow it. It was
couldn't
going to
really follow.
If there was two fights going on one, you're watching one for like a second, if that, trying to comprehend what's going on, and then next second you're at that, so you're still trying to process what's going that, and you're like, and you just.
The way the camera was just, it was almost like watching a cat fight. It was almost like watching a cat fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just so fast. It was very difficult to follow. So that was another thing that I think could have been done better. But I really do feel like we're nitpicking. We've got a couple more things too.
The deaths, how they died. Even this one. Right up here, she got her throat slit, and she still continued to fight.
Ripped out, more like it.
And she still continued to fight and took one out. Why she's hanging up there with her gushing blood all over the place.
But then she had the dramatic death.
Yeah, and then there's like another one where she gets stabbed in the throat and still walks around for like the rest of the movie.
It's like 45 minutes later, we see her in the boneyard and the pile of bones, and her other friend comes to try to, save her because through all the madness, they're losing each other.
I don't even think that fight was there. I think she walked off and got lost herself, and it was just.
And she literally got hooked with whatever the hooker thing they use to climb. Yeah. Forgive me for not having knowledge in that. Hooked from the back of the neck through the front. You see that kind of action, which is actually her friend who did it on accident because she was in the middle of killing a crawler and then turned around and, I believe it was Beth. She stabbed her and she's like, oh no. And, Yeah, she managed to keep. I was like, she's a goner, and she managed to stay alive until Sarah found her later. And
Like an hour later in the cave.
Yeah, and that's when it, came to revealing the infidelity. And
I just think it served no purpose in the movie.
Something that happens in the movie that you don't know until Beth, who happens, who's a miracle survivor of the throat injury or the neck injury, basically tells Sarah that their friend Juno had been sleeping with her husband and they were having an affair. Well, at the very beginning of the movie, Sarah loses her husband and her daughter in a car accident because, these people apparently can't drive. He was like just kind of dozing off and they hit a car and
there was a guy driving that time though.
There was a guy driving at that time. Yes. And so
it was just they're all bad drivers,
which was so painful to watch. I had watched this movie prior to being married and having children. And so to see, and her performance when she wakes up in the hospital and she's the lone survivor and realizes that her husband and daughter were killed and she's never going to see him again. And then you're in this cave fighting for your life and, you're trying to save your friends and just to find out one of them had been, screwing your husband and having an affair. And he was probably thinking about her when he was drifting off into oncoming traffic. And,
well, I even made the comment too when she said like, we all lost something in that accident. And I'm like, was he banging them all?
Juno had made that comment.
I was like, yeah, what is he banging them all?
Yeah. Doug's like, well, is he banging them all? And of course I already knew that, he was just banging the one, but I was like, close, but
So I just felt like that did not need to be put in there.
Yeah.
Like it's already, they could have done without. Accidents happen. And you could easily, if you were trying to use that ending, you could have done it another way and still got the same ending.
I think the infidelity, I do feel could have been omitted, but I understand why it was implemented. And it was because in the end, it's basically Juno and Sarah left and Sarah looks at Juno and they're basically looking at all these monsters coming at them. And they figured out through a cave painting in the cavern, which looked like a 5-year-old just did it yesterday. It was pretty fresh and it showed, it was like one of those like cave paintings and it showed 2 exits. So that's what kind of helped them figure out, there is an actual way out of here. People have been down here before and whatnot. And so they finally, which I didn't really care for that either. They finally find, a potential way to get out, and she takes out her friend's knee and leaves her for dead. So basically all the crawlers are coming to go eat her. So Sarah has the opportunity to escape and basically tells her right before she does it, I know that you were sleeping with my husband. And just I feel for Sarah. Like I said, it was just psychologically painful at that point. And I think that's what they were going for. But I do understand your point about not really being necessary.
No. But then then she does some really bad driving again, which I understand this bad driving.
Yeah, because can you imagine? She just rips herself out of the ground. She's covered in blood. And funny thing is that when she is driving, she's just having the most massive panic attack ever, which understandably. And she pulls over and a logging truck actually passes her. So
like Final Destination 2 setup here.
Final Destination 2 setup, which it could have been a little nod or cameo to the movie because it was actually released 2 years prior. I looked that up in 2003. And nobody will forget the logging truck scene. Not to go off topic, but anyway.
So how would you rate this on your light to dark scale?
I would rate this movie a 7 out of 10. I enjoy The Descent. I think overall, despite the things that we've been critical about in this video, it is definitely worth the watch. It's fun and scary and gory and right up my alley. Yeah. So I would watch it again from this point. Yeah. And I want to see the second one.
I would rate it as 6.5. I'm right there with you. I really did enjoy it. I mean, like I said, I'm critical of a lot of little things. I just think some things could make better sense, but it wasn't like, I felt like kind of like Goodnight Mommy, where I'm like, huh? Like,
right. You're just completely clueless.
right. So I would definitely rate it at 6.5. And I would watch it again. And I really can't wait to watch the second one, because there is another one that continues from the end of this one. So I'm really excited to see what, the second one brings.
So if you have seen The Descent, let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.
We're The Swinging Light. I'm Doug.
And I'm Rachel.
Till next time.
Keep the light on.